Thank you for tuning in to our project Aural Bytes, a musical omakase. The term omakase is commonly used in Japanese cuisine and it translates to, I will leave it up to you. Applying this concept, Ko will not only be presenting 15 new pieces by 5 prominent Singaporean composers, but we will also be working closely with these composers to create the best program for you, our listeners. Along with these new commissions are designs and videos by local designer and video director Melissa Lim. This project is supported by the National Arts Council. Each of these short pieces will draw inspiration from the different ethnic musical styles found in Singapore and expressed through the unique musical language of each of our collaborating composers. Instructions on when and what to do while listening to the music will be provided for a complete experience. However, this participation is purely at your own discretion. Please feel free to enjoy the music just the way you prefer it.
In this live stream, we will be talking to Wang Chenwei. Chenwei is currently the head of research and education at the Teng Company, and adjunct faculty and composition supervisor at the National Institute of Education, Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. Chenwei has also received numerous composition commissions by organizations including the Singapore Chinese Orchestra, Taipei Chinese Orchestra, and the Ministry of Education, just to name a few. Hello, Chenwei, how are you?
Hello. I'm great, thank you.
Yeah. So, anything I missed out? Anything you'd like to add on about yourself?
Oh, no, it's okay. Thanks for your introduction.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's get into things. Why don't you talk to us about the 3 pieces that you wrote for Co?
Okay, so the three pieces they are based on three rice dishes in Singapore. Since you came out with this idea of starting from the uh, band name Ko and then this concept of omakase, which but by the way, the first time I encountered this word, it was because of you. Yeah, so obviously I have, being a non-essential composer, I've never been able to afford one. Yeah.
Don't
Okay,
say
so
that, don't say that.
okay,
Yeah.
you know, um, yes, so that's why I thought of this idea of food. And so that first is nasi lemak, so it's in a Malay style. Second is chicken rice in a Chinese style, specifically a Hainanese style, and the third is biryani in a Hindustani Indian style. Okay, so the uh, uh, Nasi Lemak is based on is in the style of a Malay asli dance. So it's a gentle, and slow and gentle dance, and there's the melody is highly ornamented, um, um, and so the traditional asli dance, okay, is there's a strong colonial influence in it, so it's highly influenced by Western music. Um, like so it has chord progressions, 1, 4, and 5, which is it comes from the Western music influences. So in this piece, I tried to like expand the style a bit by adding like jazz-like harmonies, or like whole tone scales, uh, to like make a different kind of slightly different kind of asli, and it's supposed to create a dreamy like atmosphere that evokes the fragrance of the of the um, oil infused rice. Yeah. So the main challenge of composing this piece is that once you start using extended harmonies, or different harmonies, after a certain point it doesn't sound like asli anymore. Yeah, so because the Malayness is expressed through a combination of the harmonic progressions and the melodic figurations, and then if the harmony gets too far away from the what is original traditionally heard, then it might just end up sounding like some kind of European folk song rather than a Malay song. Yeah, so the hardest part in this piece also achieve the correct balance of being innovative and yet sounding like asli. So the second piece is called chicken rice, which is yet another rice that is infused with oil. It's the chicken rice in the most renowned is probably the Hainanese chicken rice, and so we have two Hainanese among us here. Yeah. Okay. So, um, yeah. This for this piece, I thought I wanted to express a specifically Hainanese style, and so actually before that, I'm not sure what Hainanese music actually sounds like, or what how it differs from the other music from other parts of China, and so I listened to a lot of Hainanese opera tunes, and actually went on YouTube and watched a full Hainanese opera. So actually, I mean, most of it actually it probably sounds like other kinds of Chinese melodies from South China, like the figurations and etc. But there was one rather unique cadence that I found is it goes like si la fa so, which I've actually never heard in other kinds of Chinese music before. And so because si la fa so si and fa is forms a tritone, and that is something rather peculiar. So if you go if it goes si la fa, so I mean la and fa is a third. So it's it doesn't like that there is no direct tritone, but because when you hear it, and the when you hear the first beat more, the main beats more strongly, then you hear the C and the fa, and there's a tritone relationship. Yeah, so I found this rather unique, and so that was one of the features that I used in this chicken rice. Okay, and other aspects of it is that since yeah, in traditional Chinese music, there's no concept of harmony. Okay, so the um, the ensemble usually play in unison or in heterophony. So heterophony means that like many instruments play the same melody, but each in a slightly different way. So they add their own ornamentations at probably different times so that they are complementary. Okay, so this is uh, I used this unison slash heterophonic kind of texture in the start of the piece, and which later which is supposed to like express the like the hardship of the Hainanese people. So they were like poor and destitute, and then they wanted to like try to go to Nanyang to make a living. So the Xia Nanyang expression. So Nanyang actually refers to mainly to Singapore and the surrounding areas. Okay, so and this expresses also chicken rice as a dish of frugality, right? Because you have with limited resources, they wanted to like make full use of the chicken, so they cook the chicken in the water that is used to boil the chicken is used to cook the rice also, and also serve as the soup. So you're basically using every inch of the chicken to maximize the taste. Yeah, so that is the sort of feel of this chicken rice is rather slow and sad and kind of piece. Okay, so the later part of the piece there's increased counterpoint and up to building up to a four-part counterpoint, and also modulation to a distant key. So and that represents like this journey to the Nanyang, and then it ends in a totally different key as well, where it started. Yeah. Okay, third piece is biryani. Okay, so biryani, this dish is okay. It's also an oil infused rice. Okay, so it seems like we Asians really like to have oil in the rice.
Yeah, we have a theme here. We have
Yeah, maybe
yeah.
if I recall the title of the piece, like what, three oily rice
Yeah,
dishes or
sure.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the oily rice sweet or something like that.
yeah, oily rice sweet.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so yeah, then if you like pair it up with Coca-Cola, then you have oil and gas. Okay, so uh the okay, biryani, it's a rice dish that originated from the Middle East, which um like centuries ago that it was developed in the like a Muslim populated cities in India. And now, of course, it's a pan-Indian dish, and also used throughout the diaspora around the world, including Singapore and Malaysia. Okay, so this piece, uh, since it's has origins in the Middle East, and I thought I wanted to find a raga that is also originated in the Middle East, right? Okay, so because like in Indian music, we've got quite a lot of when the when the Muslims came to India, they brought their own music also, and so a lot of so Indian music is also influenced by the Middle Eastern music. And then I found this raga called Yaman, which is also called a Kalyani, which is described by the ancient Indian scholars as a Persian raga, right? So that means it's obviously it was something that came from Persia, and then so I thought this fitted with the theme of this biryani quite well. Um, so I chose this raga, and actually it took me quite a long time to even find a suitable raga. Actually, I went through several different ones, and also there's this concept called rasa. So it's the mood in Indian music. So certain ragas they have associations with different times of the day, certain moods, etc. And so I have to find one that isn't contradictory. Like I can't use like a very sad sounding raga for biryani. I think it's not probably not appropriate. Okay, so firstly to find raga took a long time, and then next is to understand the characteristics of this raga. So the raga is not just a scale, okay, up and down. So if you look at the notes of the scale, it's like a Lydian scale, with it's a like major scale with a sharpened fourth degree. But then there are also other nuances in the raga, like how the way the melodies are formed, and then one significant rule of this raga is your first scale degree cannot go directly to the second scale degree. So you cannot have do re, you have to do si re, right? And then the fifth or to cannot go ascend to the sixth degree. So la cannot, so fa la is okay. Then if you are descending, you can have it in any sequence. It sounds like a very simple thing, but when you actually try to compose a piece with these two rules in place, then you suddenly realize that there's a lot of things you cannot do. Because it's something you take for granted, one do a deer, a female deer, then no, you cannot do a deer, a female, it doesn't work really. So that's why it's yeah, it took a long time to get used to the feel of this raga also. Okay, and then there's other things to consider also. So there's this vadi and the samvadi. So like the sonant and the consonant note. Okay, is another concept that's hard to explain in short. But anyway, so yeah, then I practice like with the kinetic singer. So I went to YouTube and searched for this like a tutorial on this raga, like how to sing it, and then I found this the first video that showed up was this video that you showed in the vlog lah. And then just by stroke of fate, it was uploaded on the very day that I wanted to look for such a video. Yeah, and then it also turned out to be in B flat major, which is the key I wanted to write in. So I thought, wow, okay, that's a nice coincidence. Okay, so yeah, um, uh, so I tried to follow this raga style rather closely, as in actually it's my first attempt to actually compose in a raga. So I've previously composed several Indian themed pieces before, but they are not exactly based on a specific raga. So they evoke the feel of India, but it's not trying to imitate a certain kind of scale, a certain raga. Yeah, so this is my first attempt to actually compose in a raga, and I hope um, it sounds authentic enough. Yeah, if it doesn't, then you can like dislike me for cultural appropriation. Okay, so uh, yeah, then what else do you want to say about right? Yeah, okay, so this raga is also called Kalyan, and its counterpart in Carnatic music is Kalyani, which means auspicious. And then coincidentally, there's also a type of biryani called a Kalyani biryani. Yeah. Okay. So basically all this ties together to show that it's like a pan-Indian dish that originated from the Middle East. Okay, so starting part of the piece is an alap, so it's a slow introduction that gets the listener into the mood of the raga, and also like it portrays like some characteristics of the raga. And then I got the bass clarinet and euphonium to play this uh, tambura-like figure. So tambura is this drone instrument, so there's strings and you just plug the strings, dun 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 dun, right? It's a fifth degree and the first scale degree. And then trombone plays this slow intro melody with this in the style of this raga, complete with all the glides, which are characteristic of the Indian music. And then I go on to a fast section in a 12-beat thala cycle called the Ek Tal. And then I got the instruments take turns to play this something like a tabla rhythm. And then that's where it starts to sound a bit like bolero. I mean this called ostinato rhythm. Yeah, and so then so the instruments take turns to play the melody and the ostinato rhythm. Uh, the one characteristic that the listeners will hear is that in Indian music is you can have things that are like aligned with the strong beats, like melodies that are aligned with the strong beats, or you can have melodies that are like a group in different groupings from the what the thala or what we understand as the time signature suggests. So like if you have, let's say you have 12 crotchet beats in total, you can group them in any combination of semiquavers, and they don't have to align with the start of the bar or start of the strong beats. And so when you listen to it and you are not counting the time signature, you could feel like it's in a different time signature. Yeah. So that's uh, introduction of the three pieces.
Yeah, thank you so much for such an in-depth introduction of all the three pieces. And I think this is really a testament to the way you have the sort of communication we had with you throughout this time. And thank you so much for sharing with us all your research materials and yeah, trying to let us have a deeper understanding on these different stylistic uh, or different approaches to these specific styles that perhaps we are not so familiar with. Yeah, so we really do appreciate that. I mean, a couple of things that we faced during our rehearsal, and this is with Daniel and myself. I think we also realized that for the chicken rice, for example, this idea of playing in unison all of a sudden exposes a lot of things that we don't otherwise have a chance to investigate, because usually with our quartet we play in Western music most of the time we play in harmony, so we are not playing completely in unison. So yeah, maybe Daniel, do you have anything to add on with regards to this the challenges that we face?
Yeah, for me as a performer, I think the blending of colors was really something that we had to look at, and also to bring out the flavors in the music that you wrote for us. Because with the different rice pieces, every piece, although is a rice dish, rice is a common denomination, but the flavors are so unique, and we have to change ourselves as well, the way we interpret the way we play, and also the way we approach phrasing and all that as well. And so for Chenwei, I have a question regarding like instrumentation. How did you come up with the resulting instrumentation for the various pieces? Maybe just a quick, just a quick
Instrumentation
one.
meaning like the choice of
Yeah, the
whether
choice
it's
of
bass
instruments. Yeah.
okay, I see. Uh, yeah. Okay, I think for trombone basically it's okay, we talk about the instruments that have fewer variations first. So let's say trombone and euphonium is about the range is quite fixed, like if I use an alto trombone, it doesn't go a lot higher also. So I think either one wouldn't have made an extremely big difference. Euphonium is and bass trumpet also is around the same range. So that means that leaves the other two as the wild cards lah. So yeah, and then I chose bass clarinet because it goes down it goes down to the lowest of all the instruments, right? So baritone sax goes down to D flat, right, concert. Yeah, and so bass clarinet goes down to the low B flat, which I think is quite a good note to have because of the other instruments that are based in B flat. And then so that leaves the saxophone, and then I thought I would want the instrument to fill up the higher register also. Yeah, because trombone and euphonium is more of the like the tenor to maybe alto kind. So like the some instrument for the alto to the soprano register. That's how I settled on the combination. Yeah.
So Chenwei, I have a question for you. So how in your honest opinion, how do you feel contemporary compositions could reach the attention of the wider audience?
Okay, I think contemporary compositions you need to have okay, because a lot of them is involve some kind of research or innovation. So for me it's in terms of ethnic music, and for others it might be in terms of composition technique or maybe some kind of mathematical formula. And so I think it actually the new pieces would need to be explained in some way, or introduced what is the thinking process behind it. If you just have a concert and the ensemble comes on stage and plays it and then goes off stage, and I think most of the thought processes is not won't be captured by the audience. Yeah, so I think maybe something like a lecture recital would be more suitable for new like new compositions. Yeah, and also there's a difference between new music with small letter N and M as new music with capital letter N and M. Yeah, the first one refers to any music that is newly composed, and the second one refers to new music as in a particular kind of style that evolved over after the Second World War. Yeah, so I think my music would be the small letter N and M. Yeah. Yeah, so actually my most of my compositions are tonal, and I think this the in the new music with a capital N and M, there's this general thought that like tonal music has really been like explored to the maximum, and so to in order to innovate you have to go beyond tonality. Then what I think is that because in the Western music they probably don't really have much exposure to ethnic musics around the world, or like if maybe they think it's like more of the domain of ethnomusicology. So for me, I think that when once you go into ethnic music, then you see there's a lot more to uh, tonal music than what we have had in the West, in the Western tradition, and so I think that is actually a possible avenue of exploration and innovation, despite being composing in a tonal setting. Yeah, so like most of Western trained composers don't study ethnomusicology, and most ethnomusicologists don't compose. So there's this space between these two disciplines is where I try to contribute something unique.
I think that's where we found challenging as well as performers,
Mm-hmm.
trying to interpret that stylistically. And especially with biryani, I found that with the different temperaments, the unique temperament, that was a struggle for us, I mean, to deal with. Lah. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed like playing in a different temperament with a drone B flat where we were recording this, and also just discovering how the saxophone can adapt to this temperament. Yeah, that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've also shared
You
our. Sorry.
oh, never mind, you continue first.
Yeah, we shared a lot of our struggles with you with
Yeah.
interpreting your piece and just like start getting the style right. I wonder from your end of things like composing for such different instruments, what was the challenges with that?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll go to the point about the temperament
Mm.
first. Okay, so Western music, of course, is generally is tuned to equal temperament, but of course, it's not also not exact, because in brass instruments where you play the harmonics, you're actually in playing in just intonation. So this piece, the Briani, I mean, for the audience, I specified the score for it to be played in just intonation. So that means it's like a Lydian scale with the third, fourth, sixth, and seventh degrees like slightly lower, and that's around like 10, 15 cents lower. And that isn't like a specifically an Indian thing. It also it was like as such in Western music also, because the jazz intonation produces the purest intervals and the most harmonious sounding intervals, and so like the human ear actually like aligns itself more strongly to that kind of intonation, or it finds it more pleasing, and that's why it occurs in quite a lot of musical cultures around the world. And so in Western music, because it developed in the direction of harmony, so and modulation, and once you start having that, then you can't go far with just intonation, and so that's why Western music converted to equal temperament. So you have the trade-off is that you have a lot more possibilities with harmony, but you don't have the pure interval purity. Okay, so and that brings me to the next point about the main difference between Western music and most ethnic music. So Western music, the sophistication and richness of the music mainly comes from the harmony, and so that has a lot of implications on how the instruments have to be constructed and how the musicians have to train. Basically, you need the topmost priority is actually precision, right? Because if you have harmony and then you are like not in tune, or you just a slightly bit off. Let's say you're playing a perfect fifth and your one instrument is slightly bit off, then it sounds very jarring. and so Western instruments are designed to be very precise, and the training also emphasize precision. So like I believe like trombonists, when you try to play like a scale and then you start having a slide in the scale, then your teacher will say no, you have to play the notes clearly. You cannot like yeah, uh, and then that also extends to things like tonguing. Like when you play a note, there's a tongue, and then it must come out exactly at the correct moment and at the precise moment. Uh, so like for example, when I compose like a Japanese shakuhachi's influence piece for flute, and then it requires like puffs of air and that kind of thing, and then the flutist said, I've been training for the past 20 years of my life not to play with every tone, and like every note is exactly precise, and no like pitch bends here and there, and now you're telling me to do the exact opposite. Yeah. So that means that brings me to the next point, so which is in most ethnic musics, especially Asian ethnic musics, the main richness of music comes from the melodic nuances, which includes transitions between the notes, the types of vibratos, types of ornamentation, etc. And the concept of harmony is actually not present in most of these musics. Um, so, but instead of the harmony, the richness comes from the melodic nuances. And so, actually, when you have Western instruments playing like Asian music, like traditional Asian music, we actually see that there's this like disparity because the Western instruments are so precisely constructed that it is very hard to actually play things like pitch bends or like a slide or adjust the intonation. Because like if you have the keys, it's like once you press down, it's either C or D. You won't have like if you want to do a slide between C and D, actually on most of the Western wind instruments, it's quite difficult. Yeah, so it's like Western instruments is like the wind instruments like the digital versus analog. Like you compare a Western flute with a Chinese flute, right? So digital means you press down is either 1 or 0. Actually, same as a violin. Also, when for the press down of strings, either press or not press. You know, so as opposed to an hopios is the string is suspended in the air, so you can press like different amount of to different amounts of depth. Um, yeah, so and the throughout collaboration process, of course, we have seen that like the things that actually make all the mechanisms that actually make Western music easier to play or more precisely playable is actually can actually hinder the performance of Asian musics. Yeah, which of course I tried to find the most appropriate instrument for the occasion. So like for the instrument with a lot of slides, then I the melody slow melody with a lot of slides, and I chose the trombone, right? Because that's what the slide is for. So yeah, but then the way of like the approach to the music also has to it takes a while to get used to. So in Asian music, when you slide, it's never like a flat slide. I mean, if you draw like a graph of pitch and volume and timbre and whatever over time, it won't be like a flat graph. Like if it's in a Western music piece, if you see a trombone sees a slide, it's gonna be ding. It's just a completely flat slide. But then in the Asian music, there's this thing called a nuance. So like da, da. So if you plot it as a graph, you'll probably have a rather complex graph. Then there may be a dip in the middle or something like that. And that is something that you can't really explain in quantitative terms. So it's like basically it's just like we listen to the music, and then the when the teacher just teach the student say, okay, you should play it this way, and the student imitates, and then that's the sound. And then actually they also, if you ask them to explain how do you produce this nuance, they also don't know how it was done. Yeah.
So do you have any ideas on how the audience should be enjoying and experiencing these pieces that you've composed?
Yeah, I think uh, it is how should I say, um, that there isn't a special any specific like a way of enjoyment, but then I would say just be open-minded to like non-Western musical cultures. Like in the past, like the West tended to have um, rather exotic attitude towards non-Western music. So like exotic meaning like say yeah, you have this music, it's sounds very interesting because it's unfamiliar, but then but actually the one isn't really interested to study more about it. It's just like looking at it and say, okay, this is exotic and it's something for my that gives a variety. And also some probably some attitudes are more like thinking like that the non-Western musics are less developed because they don't have things like harmony or counterpoint or what orchestration or what sonata form, that kind of thing. And then that also that sort of results in a lot of the how to say the features or the richness, the treasures of the non-Western music being ignored by Western trained musicians. Yeah, because they think that that's it's not something that might be useful for them to learn. And so um, but in recent years things has been changing, and so like a lot of Western musicians have also been like studying non-Western music. Yeah, like Daniel, you took a module in what kinetic rhythms, right? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that means I think now with this uh, globalization, I mean we have increasing this cultural exchange, and I think it would be a good thing to just have more cultural dialogue, and we cultural dialogue as in we really delve into how the traditional aesthetics and philosophies of the different musics, rather than just like let's say we have a performance with invite the ethnic musician, and then we play a jazz piece, that kind of thing. Yeah. So that is also what I'm focusing my line of work on.
Yeah, so I just want to add this, like, initially at the start of the interview, you mentioned something like if they can dislike for cultural appropriation, but I just want to put it out there that Chenwei is extremely thoughtful in his preparation, and it's been absolutely amazing that the sort of understanding and the sort of knowledge that he has imparted on us on the different styles. And I think on behalf of the quartet, we would take on this responsibility that if you ever feel that there's any sort of appropriation, it's down to our execution rather than his intentions of the music,
Yeah,
right? I
we are,
think that's
we are
that's a fair opinion, right? And then for the consensus of the quartet at least.
we strive for cultural appropriateness, not appropriation.
Exactly. And we strive and we try, right? We try our best.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for chatting with us,
Thank
Chenwei.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you.
Yeah,
And
my pleasure too.
and we hope you had fun writing for us as
Yeah.
much as we had fun preparing your music, and we hope that our working and professional relationship and friendship would go way beyond this, and we can look forward to further collaborations in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And for all of you tuning in, thank you for tuning in to Aural Bytes, a musical omakase.
Yeah, thank you. See you. Bye bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Aural Bytes, a musical omakase. This project is generously supported by the Singapore National Arts Council. For more information, please find us on Facebook and Instagram. We are Koumusic, Koumusic. Stay safe and we hope to see you at our next show.